Hello.
Hi,
Hello,
everyone.
everybody.
Hi, my name is Waruna Sutwailo, and over here we have.
I'm
Hi,
Mariah
everybody.
Inger.
That's Mariah Inger, sorry. And I'm Quincy Armour, and welcome to our information session and live Q&A for the Artist Mentorship Program at Black Leader Workshop.
That's right. I am the coordinator of the program. Mariah is my assistant coordinator. And as we all know, Quincy is the artistic director at Black Theater Workshop. And we are live on Facebook to let you know more information about the program and mainly to answer your questions. We sent a video around all of last week, pretty much breaking the program down. And we're here to answer your questions. So if you have questions, just pop them into the comment section below and we will answer them as soon as we see them. So,
excellent.
While we are waiting for some questions to pop up, Quincy, maybe you can tell us a little bit, excuse me, about the beginning of the program since you and Mike Payette created it.
Sure, yeah. The program's been in existence now for 7 years. And Mike and I started it. I remember we got together coincidentally out in Vancouver and just had a conversation about where the program was at the time. I'm sure many people remember we had a program called YouthWorks that went through many different evolutions of it along the way. And I think what we kind of wanted to do with the program was take it to where it is now, where it really is a program for emerging artists who are actively pursuing careers in the theater. I think the beginnings of YouthWorks, in many ways, going back several years, it was almost like felt more like a summer camp. It was for, to expose younger, almost teens to the arts, but it wasn't really geared and designed to support people who were actively pursuing the career. And that's a major change that we wanted to make. And so we made some major changes. Mike was basically in charge of coming up with the original curriculum for the program. And he ran it for the first 3 years. And then, of course, Waruna came on board to be our coordinator, and then Mariah joined this past season. Yeah, it's gone through quite, I like to say, a nice evolution. It's changed, certainly, but I think just, we're going into our 8th year. I feel really great about how the program has really become recognized for the work that we do to support essentially BIPOC artists who want to be theater makers.
Yeah. Why don't you say what it was like once you joined?
Mm-hmm.
I was an acting mentor with the program from, I believe it was the second or third year of the program second year, I think, when we hired individual mentors, and I was one of the acting mentors. And so I did that for a couple of years before I became the coordinator. And I really enjoyed doing that, I mean, we love this work, and to be able to pass on information and knowledge and advice to somebody that's in a similar situation that we were in was really, I love doing that kind of stuff. I'm that person, I'm that artist who's ready to kind of just pass on all kinds of information. I will word vomit onto you if you tell me that you want to be an actor. I'm that person. I'd be like, okay, you need to get your QDF and you need to do, that's what I do. So for me, it was a perfect fit. And not just because it's difficult in terms of, being an artist is just hard in general. And then, of course, out of Black Theater Workshop, we prioritize Black artists and other marginalized artists. So to be able to also do that, because we do have layers, sort of intersectional issues that we deal with in this business. And so to be able to have those very unique conversations with people also was something that I really love to do, because, I'm the kind of person, I just sort of want to give somebody the experience that, I had. So yeah, so that's how I do it. How about you, Mariah? How's it been since you joined us? Mariah's been with us for officially a year, but you joined us actually a year and a half, a year before that.
Yeah.
How's it been for you?
Well, I've been mentoring in my own private career for a long time. So it's kind of in my blood, you could say, of wanting to take others who you know, the emerging to me is a really important part to take care of now in our society. Being a POC, I've, you know, overcome a lot to not only maintain a career, but to actually advance in my career. And I figured out probably about a decade ago that if I wanted to continue and get better and be seen and have more privilege in my own career, I had to open up doors and make sure that it was safer for the ones behind. So mentoring to me is something extremely important, and I've always admired the mentorship program at BTW because of giving that space and that safe, not only just safe place, but also actual concrete practical training so that they can advance and maintain and continue to grow in their own disciplines. I find is extremely important. So I've always maintained that. So to be able to jump on board and help within a structure that already exists and that is doing well has been really rewarding. You know, I like it, and I've loved working with Warona and Quincy. We get along really well. So it's been an easy transition as opposed to maybe me doing just my own mentoring, you know, to come into a structure and have it be really like-minded and having the same kind of thought processes on what is the new generation going to look like and what are their needs and how can we achieve it to the best possible world, and being able to share my own experiences, I think, is a huge benefit that a lot of us don't always get to have. You know, we spend a lot of time kind of silently suffering to get through our own paths and make sure that our careers can keep growing. And anybody who knows of any kind of struggles in their careers, being POC or whatever marginalized society that they're part of, it's a lot of work and it takes a lot of, you know, gumption. So to be able to share those stories and not be discouraging about it, but having them be encouraged by it, I think is a really positive blend. So it's made me very happy to be able to join forces, really.
Excellent. I'm going to just jump in really quickly here, because before we get into talking a little bit more about the information and answering people's questions, which is really the goal for today, I just want to give some props out to the Department of Canadian Heritage and the Canadian Arts Training Fund. This is the organization that almost exclusively funds the Artist Mentorship Program. They have been our funder since the very, very beginning. And quite literally, this program would not exist. And I think the nature and of the, particularly the Montreal English arts community wouldn't be what it is if it wasn't for them. So our supreme thanks to the Canadian Arts Training Fund of the Department of Canadian Heritage.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, absolutely. I'm just gonna do a little overview of the program, and like we said, just punch your questions into the comment section, and then we can answer them as we go, and maybe we can answer some of these questions just by letting you know a bit about the program. So our program runs for the season. We start at the beginning of the season and we go till the end. So it's usually from like September until April. It's 7 months long. And we meet once a week, definitely once a week. There are other meetings that we can schedule and other things we schedule for our groups, but Mondays between 10 to 2 or 11 to 3 are our days. And we really do ask our groups to prioritize that in an effort to sort of learn how to prioritize artistic work, because when you're an artist, we have to juggle a lot of things. The day job is a real thing. And one of the hardest parts of being an artist, I think, or it can be one of the hardest parts for some people, is just the scheduling, because having to, you know, tell your boss a day before that you got an audition the next day or whatever your situation is, can be really tough and it can be really daunting. So we try to teach our group how to prioritize their art and ask them to prioritize those Mondays for us. And we do different things during those Mondays. We have workshops that are, as we've said in our video, workshops for everybody, workshops that will benefit the entire group. And then we have other workshops that are specific to the disciplines. And we do have different disciplines. So far in the program, we've had writers, we've had actors, we've had directors, we've had designers, we've had stage management, but the program is open for other theater disciplines. So if you're a technical director, or if you're a project manager, or if you're an admin, and you're like, oh, what about me? and you're, and you can't see exactly what you're specifically, you're looking at the application, what you're supposed to send in for your application, and you're thinking to yourself, oh, there's nothing here for me. Please don't feel that way. Absolutely write in and let us know what you are. Just try to explain it as well as you can. If there's some new disciplines being created in the theater all the time. So if it's something we might not understand, please explain it. Of course, we understand the general, like technical director, PM, and please feel free to apply. Please do not feel, if you're a production artist, if you're in tech, please feel free to apply to the program, because
yeah, we're actually quite excited about that concept. We woman down.
You know what was going to happen at some point.
Yeah. As you can see, we need technical professionals too.
Yeah, I'm not in tech, just to be clear, in case anyone was worried. I'm an actor, okay? I don't know how to do this whole thing. Anyway, yeah, sorry, Mariah, I didn't mean to cut you.
No, I just wanted to say that it's actually, we obviously are very excited to be part of the disciplines such as acting and, designing and writing and directors, because it's kind of like the meat of it all. But as we know, as professionals, the whole background is what helps us create magic on stage. So we're actually really excited for more and more production sides, technical sides to join the program. Stage management, lighting design, sound design, all of those are really exciting to us as well. So just to add to that concept, we understand how important they are, and we're excited to work with them,
And that's a question we get asked, quite a lot about the disciplines. I think some people still think the program is only for actors, and it absolutely is not. We really want the full theater group. We want all the different disciplines. So please feel free to apply. Another question that we get a lot is in terms of what do you need? Like, what kind of experience do you need to apply? A lot of people feel like they need to go to theater school. You don't have to have gone to theater school. You can absolutely just apply on experience alone. But what we're looking for is we're looking for people who have already decided that they want to be theater artists. We're looking for people who are not looking at this as a hobby. I mean, God bless hobbyists, especially in the theater. We love that people love what we do, but we're looking for people who are trying to do this professionally, because that's a completely different thing than doing this as a hobby, and that they've made the decision. This program is not necessarily for people who are thinking about it or trying to figure it out. If you want to talk to me or have a chat about that in terms, like, outside of the program, absolutely no problem. But if you're still trying to figure it out, you might want to do that first and then join the program, because we hit the ground running.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot of work involved, and you have to have there's a lot of discussions and questions in your future plan of making this a profession anyway. So if the very first question is, will I or do I want this? You're already there's a lot more coming onto your plate. So it's just smarter for people to kind of have that decision made prior to.
And I think this might segue in. We're starting to get a couple of questions. We got one in from one of our alumni, Stephen Patrick Booth. Hey Stephen, we love you. I'm gonna come back to that question a little bit later. But one of the other questions that's come up, and we've already started to tap in on that, is what qualities is BTW looking for in a mentee? One of you want to tackle that one?
Okay, well, like I said, we're looking for people that have already decided that they want to do this. Obviously, theater artists is what we're looking for. We do touch on some film stuff, but we are mainly a theater mentorship. People who already have a little bit of experience behind them. So like I said, you don't have to have gone to school, but if you have done some shows or have done some sort of, you might have done workshops elsewhere, but we really want to see that you've put in the effort to support your own career. And the word that I use a lot when people ask me what kind of people we're looking for our program is, and now it's gone out of my mind.
It'll come back. Things that taste like chicken. Things a monkey would wear.
I know people. People are yelling it at me. But proactive. Thank you. Sorry. I was like, what? Proactive. That's the word I use a lot. is proactive, because this is probably one of the most proactive businesses out there. You have to always be pushing yourself. You have to be your own manager. You have to be your own boss. You have to be your own cheerleader. There's so many things where you have to really like push, 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 and really be hungry for it. You know, we joke about being in the arts not being maybe the most lucrative. And you know, you can make a living, but it can be tough and it can be a little bit up and down sometimes. It's just very different than having like a corporate job in a building somewhere that you go to every single day. You know exactly how much you're going to get every single month. It's different. So there has to be a level of passion. There has to be a level of
Yes.
interest. There has to be a level of get up and go, like literally doing the work, putting yourself a little bit sometimes in uncomfortable positions. Um, that
Discipline.
proactivity. Mariah, how about you? What do you think?
Well, no, I would say, and there's discipline, there's desire. The hustle is real. I'm not going to lie about that. There's
And
like a real hustle mentality that has to come by it. And I think the other big thing is when we want people to be proactive, that does not mean that they have all the answers. That's part of what the program answers and helps them, help guide them through this process of becoming a professional, but the desire to do that, and the desire and the gumption to, how do I get further? How do I, what do I need to train? What do I need to learn? What are those skill sets? They may not have the answers. That's what we're there for, but they have to have that desire and that push, that drive to do that. It's important.
absolutely, absolutely, great question.
Do we want to? I mean, I know not everyone will have had an opportunity to have visited our website or to watch the great video that you two made that was started broadcasting last week. So maybe just let people know a little bit about. We talked about the different disciplines, but let's tell people, basically how it's structured, how many people we take into the program every year, kind of thing, and just talk about that a little bit.
We take 12 to 15 people into the program every year. Usually the bulk of that is our performers. It's usually somewhere between 6 and 9 performers, and then 2 to 3 writers, 2 directors usually, and 2 designers usually. Those numbers can change a little bit, but it'll be sort of around there. And a stage manager. We've never actually had the opportunity to be like, ooh, we take 2 stage managers. So, it's not unheard of. We've just never been put in that position, but we would love to have a stage manager. We don't have one every year, but we've had some great stage management. So yeah, Mariah, what do you think?
Well, so we have different disciplines. So the numbers are flexible is the point, because it depends on who actually applies and what kind of disciplines we want to represent and work, for that year, what will be most beneficial to the applicants as well. If there's only one person in a certain category, that may benefit more from having more people in that category, and we don't have that option, that may be the decision on why we don't take that category that year.
Yeah. And it also has to do with the fact that we do have a showcase at the end of the year. And the way our showcase is structured, in order for the people, the artists in our ensemble to benefit the most from our showcase, the numbers kind of have to stay a little bit close to what they are.
In
that's
the same
why
columns,
that's why we don't usually take more than like 2 directors or 2 or 3 writers, because we're really trying to serve our group as much as we can.
So I would say one of the unique parts, Warona always drives this home, is that it's a lot of practical training. So when she mentioned earlier that we do workshops per discipline, we really try and focus on what the main needs of that particular discipline can benefit from to be able to move forward on their own in their own careers. So obviously when you're dealing with stuff like acting, it's not, we're going to focus auditions we're going to focus workshops around practical structures that they're going to have to do on their own or with an agent later on, such as mock auditions. And mock auditions are not just us in the room saying you did good or you did bad. We try and structure them with actual other professionals in the business, some of the professional mentors who are also professionals. And sometimes we even bring in other directors. Sometimes we'll bring them into live camera auditions. So they're working in studio practice with mics or cameras or, an actual process that they will have to do in real life. So we do those things, and we also introduce them into new mediums that perhaps they've never done, maybe like a voice training workshop or a video game training workshop, things that are going to be continual potentially in their career. So we really try and we bring them with professionals guiding these workshops. So it's not just Warona and I or Quincy all the time. And the things that we do run, when there are things that maybe Warona and I or Quincy run, it's actually because we have proper training and we are actually professionals in those categories as well, i.e. like Quincy often does the Shakespeare workshop. Want to talk a little bit about that, Quincy?
Sure, absolutely. This is one of my favorite parts of the program. For me as an artist, I love doing some Shakespeare, and I love sharing it, teaching it. So yeah, we do at least one Shakespeare workshop every year. Usually I'll do it this year just in terms of scheduling. I wasn't available, so we had the awesome Amanda Kellogg come in and do the workshop. And basically what we'll do is we'll just take that session that one day and I think we kind of do it almost 101, because everybody comes in and will have different relationship or different amount of experience. Exactly. With Shakespeare, and so we try to make sure that we're giving them the basics. Everything's got to start with the basics, and so it's a lot of discussion, talking about Shakespeare, the time that he wrote, the history of the time, and looking at his forms. We'll go into iambic pentameter, verse, prose, everything that is essential to being able to play Shakespeare, and give the actors an opportunity to get the words into their mouths so they can start to feel what it's like to speak that text. And it's I mean, we could have so many different sessions and go on and on and on, and this is it's one session for 4 hours. It's very, very little, but it's a nice way to let some of these artists who might not have had experience with it begin to get their feet wet and see if this is something that they kind of want to pursue.
Be introduced to it.
Yeah, I think so. Go ahead,
One of the
Warona.
unique things about our program is that everyone in our bubble, mentors and mentees, are all working artists. So everyone that's involved with the program, except for maybe the person that comes in and does our
taxes.
She's not an artist. She used to be an artist though, so she understands that. But now she's an accountant. But all of our artistic workshops, all of our mentors, all of Mariah and I are working artists. We do our artist work as well as doing the work at BTW. And so what that does is it gives people like a real live sort of, this is how this works. We're not people who did it 20 years ago and stopped doing it 20 years ago, and so we can tell you about it, but maybe not presently. We are people who are doing it right now. I've had mentees who have the same agent as me. I've done shows with some of my mentees. We've been cast in the same shows, or had mentors in the show cast at the same time. So this idea of bringing artists together like this, bringing young artists, and not necessarily, you don't have to be a certain age, so new artists, I should say. Emerging or returning is what I like to say, because sometimes people take a long break for whatever reason, and when you come back, the momentum might be a bit gone. And so we also look at those artists for our program as well. So this program is unique in that way. Like the way we look at it is, okay, you have a good grasp of your discipline. Obviously we don't know everything. None of us do. We've been doing this for a long time and we still don't. So you have a good grasp of your discipline. You have a good grasp of acting. You have a good grasp of directing, however you got that. And then it's about like, how do I make a living out of this? How do I actually do this as a job? How do I maintain a life doing this work? I see people doing it. There are theaters, I see them, I see the people working in there. I know that's their livelihood. How do I do that? And that's where there can be a little bit of a disconnect. And that's the connection that we try to make. That's the bridge that we try to form right there.
We're also really more and more interested in introducing the bilingualism in the program. We have a lot more artists in the last little while who are actually first French speaking. I'm saying French speaking because we're speaking specifically in Montreal, Quebec, but they could be any other language, it doesn't matter, but may even have somewhat of a career in their original language and are trying to branch into the English division. So helping them branch into that. So sometimes we're not even talking about somebody who has no clue about the business, but have only their section, awareness, or maybe they're new to the country. So everything is a different makeup, a different machine, so sometimes we invite people in that kind of category as well, because we understand it doesn't matter how much experience you have. Sometimes you change province, you go into a new country and you go, hey, I've got my whole bag of tools and all of my information and my professionalism, and you go there and you're like, I'm starting at zero. Now
Yeah,
what?
well, I had that exact experience when I moved here.
Yeah.
Good God, now 13 years ago.
Yeah.
All my experience and all the work I had done before that did not count,
Yeah.
because I had not been a member of any of the recognized unions here, and so everything just didn't count. It was
Did you lose her?
Oh, I think she got frozen there for a second. Well,
18, starting from absolute scratch at 30 can be really daunting. And to be able to have a community of artists welcome you in and sort of be like, okay, this is who this person is, start here, just give you like a bit of a roadmap and have somebody that you can touch base with to ask questions to, just to like text somebody, like I was that annoying person at auditions who would be like, oh, can I just ask you an unrelated to this play question, oh, artistic director, because I didn't know how else to talk. I didn't know how to get access to these people. So yeah, it's a really great opportunity for those people who are like, yeah, I want to take that next real step. I've been putting on my shows, or I've just finished school, or I finished school 2 years ago and I've been, I did this program or I did that program, and now I really want to like propel myself into the professional world. That's what the artist.
Yeah. We
yeah,
also
I am.
have, sorry.
Oh,
No,
Quincy,
go
do we have
ahead.
a
Go ahead,
question there?
Go ahead, Mariah, because
I-
after you go, I'm gonna go to another one of the questions that have come up.
Oh, awesome. No, the only other thing that I wanted to say, because we do a little bit of different kind of workshop work when it comes to writers and directors. Writers, anybody who's ever experienced writing or who wants to become a writer, that can be quite a long and also solitude kind of process. So they have a direct mentor. I'm sure we'll eventually talk a little bit more about mentors specifically, but they have a direct mentor, and they kind of do a lot of their own work with their mentor, very, very much hands-on guiding. And a lot of their work is kind of done privately as well, because they have to sit down and write, and then come back to us, and then we blend in the groups. Sometimes the actors will do readings for them so they can hear the material, and directors will give them advice on how does that imagery look live, and and all that. So we integrate and we also separate, because we need to give the attention to each discipline properly, and then we integrate because at the end of the day we're all artists, and there are certain business skill sets that they need to learn that affects all of them together as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to say
Great.
that.
Yeah, thank you for that. So we did get a question that's coming in here, and the question was like, is this program only for mentors? If someone wants to learn acting, then is this the program that they can be applying for? And so I think we should just give a little bit of context there, because typically, I'll just start it and then I'll pass it off to either of you. Typically, the people that we select into the program have already done some professional theater training. So many of them, most of them in fact, have gone to usually a 2 or 3 year conservatory-like training program locally. That could mean the theater department at Dawson College or at John Abbott College. There's also a great program at Concordia University. We also have the National Theatre School right here in Montreal. And so often what will happen is actors, directors, designers, theater artists will get their what we call sometimes formal training for a number of years. And then they'll come to us and we'll help mentor them into now making their way into the professional world. So it's not really if you want to begin learning acting, you're not going to learn acting in a 7-month program where you're meeting once a week for 4 hours. It's just not going to happen. But
No.
if you have that training and you have that drive and you need to sort of make your way into the business of it, then this could be the program for you. And I'll let the two of you elaborate from there.
Yeah, basically from what I was saying before, that because this program is for some people, for the people that we feel have already established that, yes, this is what I want to do, that usually comes after a bit of training. And it doesn't have to be training in a school. It could be training by, in real life training, like I did some shows, you were involved in some stuff, or it could be stuff that you produced yourself, things that you did yourself, but just in some way being involved in whatever the discipline is that you want to be applying for. So to answer your question in short, is this a place to come if you want to learn how to act? No, this is not where you want to come to learn how to act. There are lots of different acting schools where you can actually take acting classes here in Montreal. I know there's, now they're all ASM studios that
Yep.
have an acting class. NTS, the National Theatre School, has a summer class that you can apply for. That's for everybody, no matter what your age, that you can take during the summer. So we get people, so there are different acting schools around Montreal that you can go and learn actually the craft of acting. And Quincy had mentioned universities and the CEGEPs. Of course, there are all those programs. But our program is, once you have done some of that stuff, our program sort of comes after that, because ours is not so much about teaching you how to act, but our, especially when you talk about our performers, most of our workshops, not all of them, but most of them are mock auditions, because we are trying to teach you how to audition, how to actually get a job, how to go out there. So there's certain things that we need our mentees to already understand about acting. There's certain language we need them to have. There's certain ideas and just concepts that they already need to grasp in order for us to really move along. And that's sort of, so we're like that middle step, because when it comes to classes, there's tons of those. When it comes to this middle step of like how to cross over, how to bridge over, there's not a lot of that. So thank you for that question.
Yeah. There's there was a little bit of a follow-up question, which is, was saying, where is it? The letter of intent. What do you expect to see in the letter of intent? So maybe we can begin, maybe Mariah, if you want to take this, just let people know about what the actual application process is, and then we can elaborate about what we expect to see in the different elements of it.
Well, the very first thing, which Wadona said very well on our information video, if you ever want to go back to that, because there's a lot of information there as well, was that the first and main thing we want to see in the letter of intent is you. We want to see who you are. What are your interests? Why are you interested in this program? What have you done or what have you not done and want to do? What are your accomplishments? Why BTW? Why the AMP program here? Who guided you to it? Or was this completely on your own? What are your goals? What are your wishes? What are your dreams? And also what are your commitment levels? What has inspired you? We've had, Wadona can obviously give you more details, but we've had letters of intent of people just telling their story of, this is who I was an athlete, I was this kind of person. One day I took an acting class, it changed my life, and now I know I can't let go. And this is, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make this happen for me. So please teach me, what do I need to do next? Like sometimes those are the letters that we get, obviously with the criteria that we've included already.
Yeah, that's exactly right, what Mariah said. Who you are, why you've decided to apply for our program at this particular point. And that goes kind of double for people who applied for the program before, because if you've applied for the program before, then the difference now of applying again is me hearing, why now? What's different now? What's going on now? I want to hear about your experience, whether, like I said, whether it be school or not. Tell me why, tell me how. And that can be as personal or not personal. I've had letters telling me about how their uncle used to take them to the theater as a child. I want to hear that stuff, because that's real. We're artists, so I'm all about an artist origin story. Like, tell me how you learned to love being an artist. I love that.
Well, we're storytellers, right? We're storytellers, so we want to know what your story is.
We also would like to know why Black Theatre Workshop. We are out of Black Theatre Workshop. We have a very specific mandate. So why Black Theatre Workshop? And then we just want to know what y'all are doing. I've already had applications. People have already invited me to shows. I've already RSVP'd. I've already seen some of this stuff out there. So if you're doing anything right now, obviously online, no one's leaving their house, but we will check you out on your live streaming show so that we can actually see the work itself. But if you talk a little bit about that, and also in your in your letter of intent, if you could, at the beginning, and I know this might seem obvious, just let us know what discipline that you're applying for. Because sometimes you'd be surprised. That kind of goes whoosh over, and I'm like, oh,
I
not
don't know who they
sure.
are.
I mean, you sound like you're really into this thing that you do. So just
But I
remember
have
to
no
put
idea what it is. I
yeah,
also want
exactly.
to just touch on the concept because you mentioned it real quick, but we haven't elaborated on that. As you know, we are Black Theater Workshop. Our mandate, obviously, of people of color is, part of our main mandate. It's literally in the title of the company. But the artist mentorship program is very unique in the sense that we specialize in marginalized communities. So be it LGBTQ, be it another country or POC, you don't have to be just Black to come and hang with us. But we focus on marginalized communities because those are the communities that we can speak to the best. That's our world, that's our reality. It's different struggles, different realities in the business. So we all have a common ground. We all want to come to place in a common ground of being like, the struggle is real for me. So now how do I bridge that? Because even people who have had professional, success and can't get past a certain version or a certain bridge, as we said earlier, into the professional world. Unfortunately, sometimes that baseline is because they're POC or because they're marginalized artists. And so we already have a common structure and a common struggle that we can all feel safe to discuss. And then we attack the business and all of the practical training, but we also can attack from this is my reality and everyone in this room understands that. So how do I include that reality in my process and my progress and understand those struggles and solutions?
Yeah, that's very well said from both of you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
I just want to quickly close up the application part just so that everybody understands what else they need in the application letter, which would be, apart from your letter of intent, we do want a picture of you. We say a headshot, so head and shoulders or torso and head. We want to see your face is the most important part. It does not have to be a professional shot, just a really nice, clear shot of you. That's all we're asking for. And then your CV, as much of it as you can put together. Give us a CV, give us a nice clean CV. And those are the three pieces that we ask for. Everything else is not mandatory. So we also say recommendation letters are always good. And a question we are frequently asked is, who should I get my recommendation letter from? And I always say someone you've worked with. And it's better if they've worked with you in a capacity. It can be a peer-to-peer, like if you were acting in a show, another actor. It could be a director of that show. It could be a teacher if you were in theater school or if you've taken some classes. But somebody who has actually worked with you or seen you and can actually make a relevant statement about your work and what it's like to work with you. You might know somebody and talk to them a lot, but have they actually worked with you? So those are the best people, I think, to get your letter from. And then any other information, like I said, invite us to your shows. If you have any clippings or anything that you could put onto a disc or send to us, not onto a disc, but just send to us digitally, or point us in a direction of a YouTube or whatever else there is out there, those are always great. Just as much as we can get from you, as much as we can see, as much as your work we can see, that's what we want to see. All right, Princey.
Excellent. Awesome. Thank you. We'll get into a question, but first I just want to say hi, Tanija. We just got a hello from Tanija. So
hey, Tanija.
it's really
and I see
Debbie Friedman.
Debbie Friedman is one of the directors in our program right now, and I just saw she put a whole bunch of stuff. She has a question.
Exactly.
All this different. So go read what Debbie said. Hey, Tanija, you should be in Montreal applying for our program.
But I was actually going to go one of
Murdoch
to
is
what
on there.
Debbie was
Hey, Murdoch.
Right? Oh, hey, Murdoch. Awesome. I can't see the list of everybody who's on there.
Hey, Dustin, Nalo. Hey, Shane. Okay, now I'm with it.
Was that Dustin Fleming?
A hot minute. Thank you so much. Okay, let's see. What's this?
Well, I wanted to go to what Debbie was saying because it was a nice one to ask because it just switches up a little bit. I really appreciate the question. Debbie was asking what has been the biggest challenge in creating a program for the different disciplines, which I think is a really, really lovely question. I'll start it off and just be like,
I'm looking at you, Quincy. I'm like, well, I didn't create the program, so.
Well, since I was there at the beginning, I'll start the question, but then I am going to let the two of you take it from there. But I think Debbie, the biggest thing or one of the biggest fears, maybe is a good way to start with it, is that to make sure that we weren't going to be taking off more than we could chew. I think that with any kind of work that we do in this business, sometimes your eyes can be really big, and you can go out for a little bit more than is feasible or logical to take on. And so I think that one of the challenges has been to make sure that the artists that we accept into the program in all the disciplines get the best mentorship that they can, so that we have the right people to be there to support them. And so I think that's one of my favorite things about the program, is that it's not just myself and Wadona and Mariah, is that we have this awesome team of mentors, and there's like a rotating door of mentors. Actually, not everyone is with us every year, but they'll come in, they'll mentor, they'll go away and come back. And so we make sure that whatever the emerging artist is seeking, we find the right person or the right resources to help them along their career. And I think that that's probably a challenge, to make sure that we're doing right by the artists that come through our doors, but we take it very, very seriously. And I'm proud of what we've done so far. And what about for you, Wadona and Mariah? What are some of the challenges that you all are seeing or experiencing right now, keeping the evolution of the program going?
I would say that, like sometimes with we've had like a couple of disciplines maybe that are a little bit outside of what we're used to. And so when we add on a new discipline, we have to like build that sort of area from scratch. And so we need, like, when I talk about a proactive, so if we've never had, like, let's say somebody come in for admin, we've never had anybody really apply to be a theater administrator. So let's say we had someone apply for theater administration, and we took them into the program. It would have to be them and us figuring out exactly how we were, they would have to be really involved in figuring out. I would have ideas. I know Mariah would have ideas. Quincy would have a ton of ideas. Adele, our general manager, admin, what should be on it. But we would really, it's a two-way street. And it's like that for a lot of this program. I say to people that you can get a lot out of this program, but if you mine it, if you work at it, and if you meet us, we're at the halfway point instead of like just waiting for us to bring everything to you, then you can really, the people that I've seen really explode out of this program have really done as much work as we have done. They've put in as much work as we have into the program. So I think it can get sometimes, when you're organizing for all the different disciplines, or sometimes changing the numbers of disciplines, the showcase can be the tricky thing. But yeah, we're really trying to serve our core groups. So we try to make it work. We really do. Yeah.
I would say one of the challenges is making sure that we stay relevant. And I don't think it's necessarily a challenge in the sense that it's difficult, because it's part of the focus and part of the enriching part of this program. So it's our desire, and we always want to do that. But the challenge in that is that you have to be on it. You have to be aware of everything that's going on, not only in your community, but across the country and even beyond, so that you are bringing constant relevant information. So that means a lot of work goes in way before the program even starts, and way after the program ends. There's a lot of constant staying on top, going to see shows, talking to new directors, talking to new writers, there's a lot involved in that. And it can be challenging, because there are certain structures that have to maintain the same, because there's a certain core to this business that has to be given and provided to these emerging artists. This will never change. You will have to do this hustle. You'll have to have this desire. You will have to have this amount of work ethic to maintain and to continue and to move forward in your career. But then it's, what they're doing this year? They're doing, whole new thing. So we have to be knowledgeable and find the right people and bring them in and make sure that you know that as well. So that's also like a constant challenge. I think the other major challenge, as I'm sure you can all imagine, is that we're in COVID.
Well, this is exactly what I was going to come into, because this was the basis of Stephen Patrick Booth's question, is how the program is going to continue given the COVID-19 situation that we're all facing.
Yeah, we're Wadona and I are working hard, let me tell you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I want to use the word luckily or fortunately, but where the lockdown started, we were about 2 weeks away from starting rehearsals from our showcase. So the bulk of our program was done, and we were about to start the showcase. So it was about focusing on how to get showcased, how to showcase our group. And well, first we had no idea what was going on. Are we going to be let out? Blah, blah, blah. But now it's about, we're focused on showcasing our group digitally. So we just finally came up with a plan, which you will hear about soon. And you will be notified as to where the public can join to see. It will not be the same kind of showcase as we've been doing in the past, obviously, but we think it's a really nice sharing from our group this year, who've been awesome. So yeah, and who knows what's going to happen next year. So there might be, we might have to have some digital elements next year as well. We don't know what's going to happen. Like I said, the bulk of the program, the weekly meetings, we had the last meeting was Julia Lenardin doing a voice workshop, and she did half of it live and then took the next week, the second part of it on Zoom. So that was awesome. And that was like the last sort of in-house activity. We had like 1 or 2 more sessions, but we just canceled them because it was so, obviously
So, but
we
we are doing something, and I think that's the thing. We've been very close to our mentees, obviously, constantly talking to them, letting them know as we go further on making decisions, because even we had a plan, don't get me wrong, we had a plan, I think, after week 3 of the of the countdown or the quarantined things, but then every 2 days the government would have new laws and new rules, and the dates kept being pushed. So we've had 17 plans. Now we have a concrete plan, and they will be showcased. That is our ultimate and most important goal of this program, is not only to give them practical training and give them a community throughout the entire program, which is what will keep them alive in their careers to come. But our main job is to, at the end, say, da, 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 here they are, to the professionals who can hire them. So it was devastating at first. We can't lie. It was absolutely devastating at first, not only for Warona and I and Quincy, but also for our mentees, to know that they weren't going to be able to do a huge show, with all the lights and bells and whistles. That was quite devastating. But we're persevering, and our group is so great, so patient, and so willing to adjust, and they're hanging in there with us, and we're really proud of them, and we're going to do whatever it takes so that they get the best out of this. Absolutely. And that they get a real finish, and that they get presented to the right people the right way.
Yeah. It's really about making sure that, like, just because we have to cancel the showcase doesn't mean that we have to cancel the showcasing of these artists.
Exactly.
And that's our commitment to them.
Exactly.
And I just want to point out that was a question from Stephen Patrick Booth, who was in the program last year and is pretty much like
we love him.
Classic example of what our AMP mentees and alum look like. People who have schlepped and worked so hard to learn, and at every, I used to see Stephen at every single event, shows and volunteering and all over and doing shows and fringe, the whole lot, and applying for the program. And so happy to have him in the program. And then he got a job before he even finished the program, and was on the Journey tour, which unfortunately had to be canceled through COVID. So that's just like one to me, like the stereotypical kind of case. That's what we like to see from our program. So thank you, Stephen.
Yeah, I want to move on to another thing. There's a couple other questions that are there, but before we do that, right now, anybody who's watching, they'll get to see the 3 of us. But as I mentioned too, there's a larger team. So how about do the 2 of you want to let everybody know a little bit more about our team of mentors? Maybe share with them some of the great artists that are working with us.
Yeah, we have a great roster of mentors, and not all of them are always on during the year. Our list is long, and so sometimes it just depends on the mentees that we have, and some people take a year off, and we ask them to come back. Some people so we have this really long list. This last year we had, for our actors, Julie Tamiko Manning, Vlad Alexis, Dakota Wellman, and Lucinda Davis. Julie's been...
I'm here. I'm a mentor too this year. Thanks.
I'm like, no, you're just for me, Mariah. And Mariah, what's wrong with me? And Vlad, Alexis, and Dakota Fanning, Dakota Wellman. Sorry, Dakota. Sorry, and Dakota Wellman were both in the program, so they're both alumnus of the program who are now mentors. So that's amazing. We also had our writing mentor Marie Barlizzo, who's been with us for I want to say 4 years now.
I think so.
And for other discipline, design, Sabrina Miller, who is amazing and also an alumnus of the program. She was in the program 6, 7. And Sabrina is one of those unique cases that was more of a returning rather than an emerging. She was coming out as a designer. She had won a Mecca when Meccas were in existence and doing really well. And then she had a baby, and then she had another baby, and then she had another baby. And you know those babies. It take up time. I don't know what that's about. Anyway, so when she was coming back in, she applied for the program, and it was great. It was such a beautiful fit. And so now she's back as one of our mentors, which is awesome. Thank you. It's great to have Sabrina. And this year we have a new directing mentor, Jessica Carmichael, who is amazing. If you don't know who she is, look her up. And so she's been with us now. Last year
and we also had EO Sharp.
We've had EO Sharp as a design mentor. We've had Mike Payette as a directing mentor. We've had Tristan Dilala as an acting mentor. We've had I'm trying not to forget all the people. Alex Haber. Alex Haber was the one that started the writing circle at Black Theatre Workshop with the artist mentorship program. Albert Huang was one of our mentors too. Yeah, we have a great, like a really, to me, fantastic roster of mentors to be able to dip into, and it's not a finite list. There's other people out there who we've never worked with before, but we are interested in working with.
If they're interested, if you guys are interested, and you have the the experience, to please give us a call, send us an email, let us know that you're interested in that, because we also adjust, as she said, we have a large pool of mentors, but we also adjust depending on our applications. Sometimes depending on their needs, we go and find the right person. So don't be afraid to offer your services if it's something that you're really interested in doing.
Great. I'm going to move on. I was going to ask a question that Adele put up here, but I'm going to skip over Adele and come back because she's a general manager. And just a little
trying to help us out.
Because Tanisha has asked a question, and I think it's a good one because it'll give us something that we probably want to let people know. And her question is there any other opportunity for those who have aged out of candidacy to be a mentee? And so I think this aged out of candidacy thing.
Out?
Exactly.
We don't have an age limit. We don't actually have an age top because of the nature of this game. So, yeah.
I think that's just a clarification also on emerging, because I have, anyway, I've seen a lot when you say the word emerging, that is just to assume that is your beginning,
young,
and youthful, and it's not true. Like she said, like Wadona had explained earlier, some of our previous mentees were because they already had a full career. Then they went and had children, and they were 10 years out, and all of a sudden re-emerging, and just also just finding a community again. Who's on top? Who are the main directors? Who are the main houses? Who are the main, just even knowing all of that, and just kind of getting their feet wet again into the work and all of that. They needed the support system. They needed the structure and the safe place to kind of say, hey, I've got 15 years in this, but I feel like I'm a baby again, teach me.
And we've also had people who are well established in theater in one discipline.
I was just going
to say. And then they're like, I want to do
and change discipline.
This. And then you become emerging in that. Yeah. So we've had people who have full-on careers in theater already, but they are actors and they want to direct, or they are writers and they want to
act.
I was gonna say that, but I was like, ain't nobody want, like, no one ever speaks what's that about? Everyone is like, I'm an actor who wants to do that. I'm like, well,
What are you talking about? Umi is a writer, producer who's now wanting to who transformed herself
true.
into acting. Anyway,
Hmm.
so emerging is not involving age. You
No,
know,
there's
and
no age.
honestly, be honest in your application. Like,
Yeah.
you know, we'll have a discussion about it. At the very least, we can have an interview and say, you know, what are the goals? Because like we said at the very beginning, and perhaps you missed at the beginning, we aren't looking for people who are just interested in doing this as a hobby. So there does has to be the decision of
Yeah.
I want to get back into this career pool, or I want to change disciplines in this career. There does have to be that discussion, but you know, age has nothing to do with it.
Yeah. And I'm going to go now to Adele's question here, because it's actually a really good one and a good information for potential mentees to have, which is how much time can mentees give to other projects outside of the program?
Good question.
Do you want to take that one, Anna,
My
or Mariah?
my general sort of feeling about other projects outside of the program is this. If you are working on something that is a professional career project where you are, that is your livelihood at that time, that's what our program is promoting. So for me, you know, if you have to skip out because you have a gig, like a real gig, that I will encourage that. We will all high five you and be super happy for you. Everything else, including the independent stuff, the stuff we're doing in our free time, the stuff we're trying to piece together, that stuff is the stuff to me that needs to be, you need to prioritize our program around. And the reason I say that is because, again, we're really trying to give you like a good, because even as if you are a professional working artist and you have your own, so you still have to work around your own project. You still have to make money. You still have to have a career. So what I like to say is that I have zero problem with people doing whatever they need to do outside of, like I said, it's like once a week for the most part until we come into rehearsals for our showcase. But what I really want to see is if people really will go above and beyond to prioritize their career in the arts. That's my main focus. And so to me,
Yeah.
I'm like, you have all the time, and you have all the time you can have to do all of your projects. Just it's we start to look at the priority, and of course that like goes from case to case, but we start to look at really like, okay, what are your other projects? What is it? What are your goals?
Yeah.
Do these things match?
Yeah, and there's always like the concept of, you know, Warona and I constantly are working actors. So we are on auditions and projects and plays or film, you know. So it's not a question of that you can't have a professional gig in a mentorship program that is about teaching you and preparing you to be a professional. Of course you can. However, if it's a constant drive of, you know, every Monday, the one day that we know is dedicated to the program, and you're constantly not available for that, eventually you have to make a decision. Is it because you've surpassed the program and you already know that you surpassed it, so you don't potentially, maybe you feel like you're already past it, so you don't need to prioritize it, or you didn't understand how to manage life, children, husband, career, job, you know, all of this, which that is part of actually the teachings of the program. So sometimes
Yes.
we have to be a little bit hard-nosed and say, hey, I get it. You gotta go make money. You got a bunch of gigs you got to do. But right now, you have a program that you are actually being paid for to do. You are contracted to be paid part of. There is a huge amount of knowledge and experience and work that is being provided to you at no cost. And so you need to make this a priority, because in the real world, if you had been contracted and you had missed X amount, or you hadn't thought it was important, or you skipped out because, you know, I want to get a massage or whatever it was, you would be fired in real life. And that's a
Yeah.
reality. And that's part of the lessons and the practical training that we actually teach in the program. It's not to hurt anybody. It's not to stop anybody from success. That is what the program is teaching you from the get-go. So it's part of it. But
Yeah.
we always
And
encourage people to work professionally.
at the end of the day, I mean, it really comes down to, you know, there's two coordinators, an AD, a team of mentors, a a class or a group of other mentees, a team in the office. There are so many people out there that are going to be investing in all of our emerging artists. And it's really going to come down to, you're going to get out of this program what you invest into what we're investing in you. That's really what it's going to be. We're going to put everything into it. If you apply to the program and you get in, we're going to be here and give you everything that we can. If you take that and use it and thrive with it, then fantastic. But if for whatever reason you don't take advantage of this great opportunity, then you're only going to get out of the program what you give into it, essentially. I wanted to just go on again. I think, well, you touched on to it a little bit, Mariah, because I know that one of the questions I've gotten sometimes is people asking, well, how much does the program cost? And so just as Mariah was saying there, there is no fee to be in this program. Essentially, you will be paid. There is an honorarium that comes with participation in the program. I don't know if either of you wants to just elaborate a little bit more on that, or, I mean, that pretty much covers it though.
Yeah, that
you get paid to do it.
Exactly.
And again, it's part of our practical training of trying to get you used to a certain type of life. You know, you're doing this artwork, then you will be compensated for it, but then that means that you have a responsibility to it, and that, you know, so
it's part of the structure, it's part of the rules. And I do want to be clear that when I say that we prioritize that, we understand that is why this program exists. We understand what it's like to juggle children, to juggle a whole other, you know, I got to go to work because I got to pay the bills. That is actually integrated into the structure of the program to teach you how to manage that. That's part of the work. So we're not saying, oh, now you ignore your family and the job that helps you pay your bills. We're trying to give you the tools and the success and the knowledge. How do you make this a priority so that it can eventually pay all your bills and be your career, and that you can still find tools to structure family, structure, you know, all the other things that are important and that make you you.
Yeah, so if you have any questions, please write them in the comment box down there, and we will just keep going in terms of telling you more. We're here for like another hour, it looks like, but we'll see how it goes, and we might end up ending a little bit early, just depending on who all is there. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the showcase that we do and what that is, how it usually goes. Obviously, like I said, this year is different, and it might be a little bit different in the future, but I'll just give you a little run on how it usually does occur. We usually go into rehearsal for the last few weeks of the program, and we make a script using pieces of our writers' works, excerpts from our writers' works. And we usually use a play during the year we call our resource text, a play that's already produced, and we will usually do a chunk of that. But mainly our playwrights' works, and our actors are allowed to choose either a monologue or a special skill to present. And the directors are the ones that piece the show together and decide what goes where. They are also the ones that direct the show fully. They direct all the different scenes that happen in the show. The show in general is taken care of by the ensemble completely. Black Theatre Workshop acts as a producing body, but it's directed by them, it's performed by them, it's stage managed by them, it's designed by them. We have a tiny budget, and some local theaters have been kind enough to donate their spaces. We've had the MAI donate their space. We've also had the Centaur, where we did our show last year, and our showcase this year was supposed to be at the Siegel Center for Performing Arts. So, and Mariah, why don't you talk a little bit about our VIP guests and who we like to put in front of our...
Yeah, so one of the, as we've said multiple times, obviously the goal is to introduce these emerging artists into the professional world, into the community, closing that bridge between, you know, what they may already have under their belts into now how do they maintain a career or propel themselves into a full career. So part of that is the showcase is to invite VIP guests. So we invite people who actually have hiring potential, be it an AD. We invite casting directors if people are interested in doing both mediums, both theater and film. We invite casting directors, agents, come and see because they're interested in new talent all the time. We invite, local playwriting workshop, well, that particular organization, but also just people in general who are looking for, who are the up and coming talents, ADs of different theaters, because they're not only necessarily looking at just actors that they might be potentially want to audition for a future project, but also new director styles or new writers and scripts. Ooh, like the amount of times I've heard an AD turn around and go, whoa, that was a really well-written piece. I want to talk to that person, or that was a beautiful rendition of such and such, piece or monologue, and, they want to hire them. So we focus on certain people like that. Usually about, 40 to 60 people in that category come and see these mentees, which is an enormous amount locally.
We've had Ubisoft come down. We also invite just other professional artists who've been doing this for a long time. Like Mariah said, other designers, other directors, other actors. So if they're looking for assistants or they're just looking, like, people can recommend people.
Yeah, so that they can do artist assistances within real work that may be going on later on the year. We've had director mentees from last year who, literally went on to do mentorships with directors they really admired and traveled across the country. Like there's all kinds of things like that. And then of course we open everything up to the open public because it's still good theater and there's still great art to see. And we want to make sure that they're being introduced to the community as a whole. When you get to see them in the showcase, you can go, oh, that was great. And then you see them a year later in another show, you go, I remember where, so we also want to constantly continuing building the community itself that they're part of.
Yeah, I want to just go on that a little bit because you mentioned, Waruna, that the generosity of our community in terms of the Mai and then the Centaur and the Seagull offering up their space to us. And I think that's one of the things that we're really proud of. It really is something that was, the nucleus of it was here at BTW, but this program has been embraced by the entire community. And I think that speaks a lot to the value that the program has in the ecology of our small Anglophone in the province of Quebec nature of the work that we do. But yeah, just an extra opportunity to say thank you to Montreal Art Interculturel, thank you Centaur Theatre, thank you to the Seagull Center, and to all of our other supporters. This community is so great, and I like to talk a lot about how Montreal, particularly in English here, is so much more about contribution rather than competition, and I think we really get to experience that a lot through this program. I'll let you take it up from there.
No, absolutely, Quincy. Thank you for saying that. And even like those were the companies that donated their spaces for us to have the showcases in. But there's so many different theater companies who give us like enormously reduced tickets, like the Centaur and the Seagull. There's we had the other theater and such a tiny theater company, the other theater, just gave us tickets for free. Jordy gives us reduced tickets. I mean, there's so many theater companies that really have, cut costs
supported
for us
the program,
or supported the program in some kind of way. We've had, anytime I invite Emma Tebaldo from Playwrights to come in to talk or do anything with the Artist Mentorship Program, and I try and give her little honorarium check, she always throws it back in my face. Emma, she's like, what are you even thinking? So we really appreciate that. Like, people are so supportive of that. Even the mentors, I've had mentors give back checks right now in COVID. I've had that happen because they're like, the program needs it. So we've had so much support. I've had people who have said to me, hey, if you ever just need some, like artistic directors, if you want me to come in, I'll come in. You don't have to pay me. It's fine. Let me talk to them, So we really do say thank you to the entire community, because this program really wouldn't be what it is without the community. They really hold us strong.
Yeah, and I think there's the word of, I think, mentoring in general. The successes of AMP have spoken for themselves, so we're very lucky that way. It's been proven that it works because we have a lot of successful mentee graduates who have done really well. So that's already proven. But we also mentorship is a new language, and even in North America, I should say, as a whole, mentoring is a really big importance if we want our communities to continue growing and to continue to prosper. It's what helps the current and it helps the past. I mean, the future coming up behind us to maintain our industry. So, you know, and I speak to that because this year in particular, we had a group of actors, some top-notch actors, one including that I was working with, Aisha from Transplant, and she came in and you know, everybody was a little starstruck because there was a face that they recognized, you know, who was coming to talk to them. And she was just like, girl, you know, this is our world. You know, the struggles are real for all of us, you know, and she just spoke some real talk and it was a beautiful thing. And of course, she just looked at me afterwards and she was like, oh my God, if I had more time, like if I could just sit with them and just talk. I can't believe you guys are giving all this opportunity to just be able to talk about the experiences in this art form and what it's like. And just for me to share was so empowering for everyone involved. So, you know, the community and beyond has really has participated in this.
Yeah. Something else that we should mention for our viewers, because we're here live on Facebook, and so we don't know where they're watching from. And so maybe one of the questions that some emerging artists have who aren't living in Montreal right now is, do I need to live in Montreal to participate in the program?
Yeah, this is a Montreal-based program, and so far we really do keep it to Montreal. We have toyed with the idea of doing some remote things, and like we said, it's COVID time, so we don't know how the future is going to go. But for right now, yes, we do. The program is really built to build the Montreal theater environment because, you know, we're a bilingual program, but the English side is quite small. We're an English theater, and the English side is quite small. And a lot of, as we all know, there's a lot of artists move to Toronto or move somewhere else, which, you know, no judgment, but we want to support people that do want to stay here because you could absolutely have a very fruitful career here in Montreal. So yes, right now you do have to live in Montreal to,
or you have to have access to Montreal.
or you have to have access. You have to be able to come into Montreal.
Yeah, you can live in Toronto and come here every Monday if that's what you want, and then commit yourself to the showcase and all that. You know, part of the interview is will it give you exactly what kind of commitments are required to do the rehearsals and the showcase.
And I've definitely had people living in, you know, the areas just around Montreal, like not living inside the city itself. And they have to like come in, and some people have had to take some like 6 a.m. buses or 7 a.m. They did it. They did it.
Yep.
Manuel Hippolyte, he did it with a pregnant wife. So I'm just saying, can be done.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to touch on something though that Mariah was talking about earlier, because I do find that this is one of the really unique aspects of our program is the demystification. I find this business is embroiled in mystery. Sometimes it feels a little bit like Alice in Wonderland trying to find the right door to see how I can get to the next person who's going to help my career or get into the door where I can get into this theater company or whatever it is. It can feel a little bit daunting coming out of theater school or whatever, where you're like, how do I though get into the room? And so one of the things I love about the artist mentorship program is when we can get professional artists who've been doing this for a really long time and could just come down and just want to have like a real candid conversation with the artists in the room and just demystify everything and all these things when we're like, you know, like there's so many things that we think. And I remember being like, that anything could get me blacklisted, you know, like if I look at a director the wrong way, I could be blacklisted. Or there's so many things that we think is the way it's going to be. And having worked with this program for one way or another, I would say I think probably from the beginning, all 7 years of the program for sure. I can tell you that one of the things that I've heard again and again and again from all different types of emerging artists, some that came from school, some that didn't, some that were older, some that were younger, was how surprisingly warm the community was. I'm not sure what they say about us out there, but surprisingly, you know, like, and I think people are a little bit, it can be a little bit trepidatory, it can be a little bit scary, you know, you don't know these people, you're intimidated, you see them on stage or you see their work on stage and you want that, you admire these people, you read their work, you admire them. And so sometimes it might feel very intimidating. And so to have those people in front of you sharing their fears with you that are just like your fears, talking to you about their just hopes and dreams, and just humanizing everything, I find is one of the best parts of this program, because it really just, like I said, it makes it a human experience, and then it makes it seem even more possible. You can really see how you can create an entire career out of this. We're not magical beings, we're just people hustling.
Well,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, and also just sharing with those frank discussions are also really important. Because you talk about demystifying, and you talk about them understanding that actually there's a lot of help, and there's a big, huge community actually, and there's a lot of love, but also, unfortunately and fortunately, to have people to converse with when stuff is hard.
Yeah.
What's that really like? And when stuff is hard, and what is my experience? What is Wadona's experience? What are these, invited guests' experiences? What are their experiences? Because sometimes what I find that the reoccurring information that often comes in is that they have their own experience. They either think it's all just them who have that experience. Maybe I did something wrong, so therefore I need to change, is often a conversation that needs to be had. But also sometimes then the other side happens, where they're angry and they're hurt, and they want to, kind of defy the man and change the process. And some of that absolutely has to happen. And pros like us, who have been fighting the man for 20 plus years, can give them some real information on that, but also understanding what battles to pick. When does the right message get across? What will propel you in your career? Actually understanding that is a whole other bag of worms that we have to, explain and work on. I don't even know if bag of worms is a comment, if it's actually a real metaphor, but you
I think
guys
it's a can.
understand.
I think
It's
it's
a
a can.
can of worms, right. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we're coming on. It's 4:15. I think we'll go on for another 15 to 20 minutes. So if you
Yeah.
have your questions, send them in now, so that we can answer them for you. Let's see, a question just came in here. Does the training include grant writing? We do, in fact, have a grant writing session that June Park does every year. She also does grant writing sessions other places, where, yeah, you bring in your project if you have one. If you don't, the information is still amazing. And she does a 4-hour presentation and a grant session. And then obviously, through your mentors, through us, Quincy Armour, who's written a bunch of grants, ourselves, who've also written grants, we can also guide you, or at least guide you in the right direction. But we do have a grant writing workshop. Thanks for that question, Murdoch.
Yeah, I'll just elaborate to say, just for anybody who might be joining us a little bit later on, if they weren't with us right from 3 o'clock this afternoon, that the initiatives that we have, like the grant writing workshop, taxes for the self-employed, these are things that we have in the program because we want to make sure that we're focusing not just on the art of the business, but also on the business of the business. And so throughout the program for the 7 months, like those kinds of things are going to come up. And sometimes there might be things on the business side of things, for a lack of a better way of putting it, that we might not have there. And if there's anything that comes up, our mentees can just come to us and be like, I need this, or I'm wondering about this, and then we'll go out and find it for you. So there is we do have a structure and a team and a schedule and things that are in place, but it's all malleable based on the needs of whoever the mentees are going to be at any given time.
Yeah.
I also wanted to say something. It's a little bit random, but I'm going to say it anyway. I get a lot of people that will email me or set up appointments to talk to me because they want to learn more about the program, they've heard about the program, or they know what we do, and so they want to hear more about acting or theater, directing, design. They've just moved to Montreal, or they've just, I talk to a lot of people like that. And I find that a lot of people are, not a lot, but there's some people who are quite trepidatious about like applying for the program because they feel like they don't have enough experience, they don't have enough stuff, or they don't know, they're not sure, and so they don't apply because they're not sure. I just want to encourage people to apply anyway. And the reason I say that, even though we've gone through what you need in order to apply, the reason I say that is because applying to this program is also an exercise of sorts. You know, like these are the things we have to do in order to create our career. So if you do want to, even if you're at the point, if you're that person, apply anyway. Like the person who was like, you're going to teach me how to act. No, but you know what? Maybe you might never have auditioned before. So you might get an audition with me. So you might as well apply to be able to come out and who knows what might happen after that. I might be like, okay, you've never done school or don't know anything, but apparently you are inherently amazing. You never know. But what I do like to tell people is I think, especially if you are an emerging artist, applying for everything you can possibly apply for, going in and interviewing or talking to or auditioning with or connecting to or networking with all that stuff that you could possibly do. I always encourage people to do it, to go for it, because the actual work of writing an application, gathering together all of the information, sending it off by a deadline, that's work, that's commitment, that's dedication, that all shows something. It really is working towards your career. And then if you get that call back, coming in and having to do the interview, having to talk about your work, having to do a live audition, having to show your portfolio and talk about the things that you've done. We ask our directors to come with a dream job. So to know a play that you really want to do and to know what you want to do with it and have to explain that and speak to some, all of that is enormously important work in this business.
Yeah.
And so I really encourage people to apply. And if you don't get into this program, we usually send a letter back letting you know specifically why, you know, what that is. There will be a chunk in the letter that will tell you exactly why. And a lot of people I ask to come back and apply again, or to go out and get some more experience and then apply again. And I just want to let people know that when I say that, I really mean it.
Yeah.
Like I really mean it.
And there's a lot of people who have, you've obviously been very convincing over the years, because there's a lot of people who come back and apply and get accepted later. You know, they've kind of figured out some stuff. They get more, they present a better, more organized or more honest application the next year, and boom, you know, they're in.
Or
so
like a lot of the time it has to do with just the number of the actual people that applied in that group, you know? People who like, it's like, in this group, it just was, but then in the next group it might so it also sometimes has to do with the people in that particular year that
in that discipline, you mean, like in that particular discipline, and
in that particular discipline of that year who applied for the program, you know? So there's lots of different reasons. So please, I just wanted to like open that up, because I know sometimes it can hurt, and I've talked to people who have been hurt by not getting into the program. I completely understand that. I've applied for things that I haven't gotten into, but in terms of your career and your life and what you want to do, please know that there's never ill feelings when it comes to that. So the door is open. If I say the door is open, it is open. And a lot of people have come and used the resources we've offered. And so, yeah, if we've ever offered you resources and you haven't used them, maybe not like in the next 2 months because I'm doing a showcase, please use those resources and call us.
Yeah, can you wait till September? We got some stuff going on.
But apart from that, yes, absolutely. Okay, so we're talking about Black Theatre Workshops Artist Mentorship Program. We're giving out information. We're answering your questions. So if you have any more questions, write them in, because we will probably be wrapping this up in 10 or 15 minutes. Oh, Jamie Robinson is watching. Hey, Jamie. Allison Darcy. Hi, Allison. Allison's been a guest in the Artist Mentorship Program.
Yeah.
For sure. Nice to see you guys. Thank you for joining us.
You know what? Actually, as you mentioned, Allison and our, you know, we talked about our colleagues that run other theater companies in the city in particular. One of the things that, you know, I think this was mentioned on the video, but for anybody who might not have watched it, just to let people know that in addition to the showcase that we have at the end of the year, we also have opportunities for apprenticeships with BTW and also with some of the other theater companies in the city, which I think is also really great. So this often ends up being the case, particularly with our designers or stage management, that they can, you know, get an equity credit as an apprentice stage manager, or you can work alongside, like we had, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but Nalo was working alongside EO when she was within the program. So there is actual practical, you mentioned this before, the practical on the job training. And you know, I love to spread the love around, and it's not just in the BTW shows that those opportunities come up with the other theater companies around the city as well, which is again a testament to the collaborative nature.
Try to branch out to all the other theater companies, and we've had so many theater companies.
Well, we actually encourage it. We actually encourage it, right? So that they can learn from different kinds of companies and different
100%.
forms of art that they're presenting, right? Because every theater company kind of has their theme or their method or the mythology of behind their art, right?
Now it's just like affirmative.
Thank you, Nalo, for that. Hey, Rahul Gandhi, who's in our program right now. Hi. Amanda Kellogg is here as well. Amanda, the artistic director of percussion. I didn't mention Alison Darcy, artistic director of Scapegoat Carnival. So it's awesome to see you guys. Thank you guys for being here. Nalo, another Nalo Sayuni Bruce is another AMP alumnus, a designer who came from a background in interior design. So she had a full-on career in interior design and decided to change over to theater. So that's a different way you can be an emerging theater artist, and really just dedicated her whole entire self to it. And when you talk about the word proactive, that's another face you could put in the dictionary right there. And since then, she's just been cruising and been designing
thriving right now
everywhere, which is awesome and amazing. But I know most of that has been her very, very hard work. So thank you, Nalo, and thank you for sharing us and being here today with us. Hey, she said that's some love. Okay, I'm just wondering, like, have I forgotten anything, or
I don't know. I think we've pretty well covered the major.
Yeah, I feel like we sort of covered the lengths and breadths of it. The applications are open until June the 1st. We are only taking emails. We're only taking digital applications. So please just send them to mentorship@blacktheatreworkshop.ca, and we will get them. Just if you have any questions, send them to us. If you
You just went on mute there for a second, my dear.
Sorry. My mother-in-law is trying to call me. She's called me twice. I'm like, oh, I forgot.
Welcome to live.
So if you have any questions, you can just send us a question. If you have any shows happening or projects happening or anything you want to share with us, you can absolutely invite us to that, and we will check it out if we can. So yeah, as far as the applications are concerned, they're still open. Get them in. We'll take them until midnight. So just the 1st of June. Okay. Get your applications in.
Yeah.
I'll just give one last check, but no, I don't think we have any other questions. So I think we're all good.
Yeah, I would say if anybody has just joined us and missed a bunch of info and everything, you can go back to our website. At least our original video is over there, which gives you quite a bit of information. We may even put up this recording, I don't know, but our live session may be available to you as well. So you can also go through that. So don't worry, you haven't missed anything. As Wadona said, you can always ask us questions directly, but there's also actual already recorded info for you as well.
Awesome.
And I guess I'll just tap into to throw in a little bit of an extension of AMP just in terms of BTW, you know, because pretty soon, we're not sure when, we would have actually yesterday was supposed to be our season launch to launch our 50th anniversary season, but that didn't happen. But so it is going to be coming up a little bit later on. But just for those of you who are out there watching, who are lovers of what we do at BTW, we're still here. Our team has been working diligently from home. We're still putting something together. And in the next few weeks, maybe a couple of months, we'll finally be able to have a clearer understanding of what our season is allowed to be. And we'll get all of those things in place and share it with you. So we miss you all, and we're getting ready to come back and be out there with all of you. AMP and BTW in general.
Yeah, and AMP, as we had mentioned quickly, but for some who may not have had the chance, obviously normally we would have already done a showcase live. At this point, we are doing a new digital version where we've got multiple components to that, so you guys can just keep looking for that information on our BTW website as it comes and as it gets delivered. But for these new emerging artists coming in, hopefully participating in the AMP program, things will be different because this is, COVID-19 style. So things will be different. There may always be a digital version of the showcase if that's what's needed, or in addition to the classes or workshops or process. But if that is the case, we will still make sure that you are the best represented, that you are given the best information possible. And I know that our partners and our people in our community will participate and hang in there with us as well. And if we do get back into live theater, maybe the dates from normal startup will change depending on how the government goes and what the rules are, but we will be here. Don't you worry. We will figure it out and we will make it happen for everyone involved.
Absolutely. So thank you again. It's 4:30, so I think we're just going to wrap it up about half an hour early. Thank you to everybody who joined us for asking all your questions. Thank you for all the
love.
Stephen Patrick Booth and Elijah Murdoch, Debbie. There were so many people that came in, Nalo, that were really like giving us love, like people that are part of our AMP family. So thank you so much. Jamie and Allison and Amanda, you guys didn't have to be here. You're all professional working artists. So we appreciate you being out here. Please just spread the word to everybody you know that you think would benefit from this program. Share our info session, share anything that you see on BTW for AMP. Again, 1st of June is when the applications close. You can find all the information about how to apply for the program on our website. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Stay
you.
home. Be
Thank
good.
you.
Stay
We
safe.
miss you.
Stay healthy.
We'll see you all very soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.